Welcome back to the Camilla Tominey Show on GB News. Ben Habib is in the studio. He's the Joint Deputy Leader of Reform UK. Lovely to see you. Thank you very much for coming in physically, because I know you've been busy on the campaign trail.
Lovely to be here.
Let's talk about Nigel Farage. I mean, he's the person we're all talking about during this election.
Who isn't talking about
Nigel?
Well,
I know, but is all publicity good publicity, Ben? Because this interview is given to the BBC's Nick Robinson in basically saying... You know, we've provoked this war, of course, it's his fault, but we've also provoked it because of this idea of expansion of NATO and the European Union to Ukraine. I mean, the obvious question is he a useful idiot for Putin or just an apologist and an appeaser?
Well, he's neither. I mean, what Nigel was doing was pointing out some basic facts. You know, we tend to see Ukraine particularly and many foreign policy, foreign interventions in black and white terms. And a lot of this is nuanced. And you know, in 2013, the EU was offering association membership to the Ukraine. It was offering them 10 billion euros worth of funding if they came and joined.
But Ukraine's a sovereign nation. They can do what they like.
And in the end, Yanukovych actually declined the EU's advances and he decided to sign a deal with Russia. And then there was the rioting on the street. Yanukovych was deposed and you got an interim leader and all of a sudden Crimea was invaded. So there's clearly...
So you're saying that kind of EU interference is what he's talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I think the EU, by the way... I mean, let's just talk about the EU with Russia has been all over the place. So it flirted with Ukraine.
The UK, to be fair.
Well, much less so. You know, we are much more determined in our...
David Cameron was taking Putin to the judo in 2012.
Yeah, that is true. David Cameron should be nowhere near the office of Secretary of State for Foreign Affairs.
Some people might say Nigel Farage should be nowhere near the keys to number 10.
Can I just talk about the EU?
This kind of pro-Putin chat.
Can I just talk about the EU? The EU was there offering up membership to Ukraine. And at the same time, Germany was busy bypassing Ukraine, building Nord Stream. Do you remember Nord Stream?
Yeah, but
which is a direct...
Can I just say, though, that I get your point, but the one reason why these options were being given to Ukraine is because, like most Eastern European nations, funny enough, they were worried about a Russian invasion. How do you think Estonia and other countries in that area are feeling about it? If
the EU had genuinely been worried about Russian invasion, why was Germany rushing it, making itself dependent on Russian oil and gas? And you know, when it comes to
Angela Merkel, she's not on the show.
When it comes to the morality of this war, Germany went on pumping billions of euros, about 50 billion euros, into Russian coffers after they'd invaded Ukraine.
Okay. Do you think it's bad politics from Nigel Farage? I mean, he's got bad headlines for this now. Some people agree. Some people who are Tories, who are sensible Tories, who thought, I might vote for reform, are now going to say, oh, no, not now. He's being cranky, to quote Kwasi Kwarteng, in that seat.
Well, I think what's refreshing about reform is that we speak our minds and we speak it without fear and without favour. And we need that in politics. And what Nigel was making was the connection between the EU's behaviour and where we are right now. And the EU, by the way, on foreign policy is absolutely hopeless.
Yeah.
When we were sanctioning Iran...
The EU, so...
No, but it was about the EU that he was making comments.
You won that argument. You've won the argument about us not being in the EU. Shall we talk about you individually? One thing that continues to haunt you a little bit, let's have a clarification of this. That interview you gave to Julia Hartley-Brewer, where she asked you about what would happen if people get into dinghies on the channel and then their dinghy ends up sinking. And she asked, then you would leave them to drown. You replied... Absolutely. They cannot be infantilized to the point that we become hostage to fortune. So are you saying you're happy for women and children to drown in the channel?
You're skipping a crucial part of that interview.
Yeah, go on.
In which I said, and our policy remains, that boats should be stopped in the channel and they should be asked to turn around and go back to France, where they came from, where the people are perfectly safe. Remember, they got into these boats, they paid money to get into these boats of their own volition. And she said, when you intercept the boats, what if, it was a what if question, they pull out a knife. Where do they get the knife from, I should have asked, but they pull out a knife, they stab their own dinghy, the dinghy sinks. And I said, well, it's not for me to offer up solutions, but one solution could be, and I was advocating saving these people, is another dinghy is provided to them to get into and go back to France. And she said, what if they stabbed that dinghy as well? And What she wanted me to do, and sadly what I gave her, was the gotcha moment, because I got frustrated with her ridiculous...
Never been gotcha'd by journalists.
I know. Well, she's a friendly voice normally, and I thought, well, I let my guard down. But the point is, the policy of stopping dinghies in the Channel is the only policy that will work, and it is proven to work because the Belgians use it. They stop boats as they leave their shores.
But you say you got gotcha'd when she said, I get the context. That's why we've clarified it on the show.
Yeah, that's what we do on
completely
hypothetical
then
nonsense
you would leave
discussion.
them to drown. Absolutely. You must regret saying that.
Well, if someone perpetually puts themselves in harm's way, is it our job as the United Kingdom to rescue them against their will? I mean, let's take Bobby Sands. Let's take Bobby Sands.
Let's just take migrants. From a humanitarian sort of perspective, and also bearing in mind that some people are bringing children over. Yes, it is our job, isn't it? Because what are we saying? We'd rather people die than come here and seek asylum, even if they get their claim processed and they don't get it.
First of all, let me be utterly clear. I'm not advocating anyone should drown. No one needs to drown. You could rescue them. And in this other hypothetical discussion I'm now having with you, you could handcuff them, put them in a boat and take them back to France. That's what that's what...
But come on, let's clarify. We don't want migrants drowning.
No, but I tell you
we don't want them allowed to drown.
I tell you what guarantees migrants drowning, and that is not stopping the boats coming across the Channel in the first place. And the government policy at the moment, which effectively is to spend £50,000 per head per illegal migrant per annum in this country versus the £5,000 that the French spend on them, is an absolute economic pull. And unless you stop the movement of people, and the physical stopping of them would do it, and it works, you will go on encouraging people to make that journey, and the default position will remain that we will have continued death in the Channel. Moreover, there will be criminal and possibly terroristic elements that we will import from France into the United Kingdom, who will then go on to attack civil society in our country. This is a deeply dangerous policy that the government is not getting a grip of.
All right, Ben Habib, I think you've made your case.
Thank you.
We've had a fair discussion about that. Thank you very much indeed for joining me. Good luck on the campaign trail.